Good morning and welcome to this, I can't call it latest edition. It's the latest.
Yes, the latest edition of the program Sunrise.
Sunrise.
Yes.
And a beautiful morning to, although I thought it was threatening to rain, but no rain, at least not now. I'm Joke Rogers.
And I'm Ayo Makinde. I hope you have your cup of cocoa or cocoa. Well, right now I'm having my own cup of what I want.
Alone.
I don't know what you want. Yes, alone.
Alone.
With this cup. If you know, you know.
How selfish? Where's mine?
Well, I'm sure you know where yours is.
Well, you know what? Your heads continue to roll. At the presidency, heads have continued to roll.
Well, one thing about heads rolling is the heads that are rolling are not the only ones.
Yes.
There are always a network of activities. You don't just set up an agency. Agency of government, even local government agency, you can't just set it up.
I sincerely hope, Ayo, that whoever wins the elections in January will not spend the rest of their 4-year tenure uncovering fake.
Haven't you observed that this is the first time in a long time that we are hearing that such things exist?
Yes.
Why are we just hearing about it now? It means that these things had been going on for quite a while. This agency we're talking about, for instance, when was the last time that we ever heard of such a thing happening? Say a government agency was discovered, you know, by some grandiose activity. Okay, they have been doing it for a long time and we didn't know. When has that ever happened before? And don't forget that the one that started, this PFIPC that started this whole thing, had the appendage of the previous administration. Presidential Economic Advisory Council, PFIPC, right? So that's to say, you know, that one. Now this one, what's the appendage? I really want to see the story. Now, for the president to say these 3 perm secs need to stay, you know, step aside. Step aside. Questions we should be asking is, what's their affiliation? Why are we not talking to the HOS Simple? I think she retired recently. Yeah, she was by August 27. Okay. That's when she's going. And you know, there's a new person coming in. Yes. So that one has his hands full already. Exactly. So no one can tell me that agency that's just been discovered just suddenly started. For how long have they been on? I dare say, if we are seeing it in the federal level now. And, you know, Mrs. Wilson Jack will just say, you know what, you guys handle your problem. Continue. So I think it's just a matter of intentionality about these things. Another intentionality, Ayo, is this CNG. CNG is coming. CNG has come now. See, CNG is now trouble. let me tell you something that's a bit painful about the CNG. Yeah. The initiative, of course, everybody knows, is amazing. I was in Abuja in the course of the week. I had reason to be speaking with journalists like us. A few of them said they converted their vehicles to CNG. Now to get the CNG. Now to get the CNG is civil war. So they have had to go and revert to the old one. That's double expenditure. Yeah. So government, be it federal or state, needs to do something about it. There is no doubt about it. It's an amazing initiative, because if you are spending 15,000 on fuel, for instance, now you are spending less than 5,000 naira. That definitely is the way to go. When I got to Lagos, I think it was yesterday, I had reason to pass by a fuel station. Yes, I had reason to pass by a fuel station on Agidingbi Road, Ikeja, where there was a long queue for CNG. Yes. Queue. And who gets the vehicles on the queue? Marwa, the tricycle, and private cars, including commercial buses. Who the people you want to empower in the first place, so they're now the ones suffering. So what is the problem? We hear that the charging or recharge bays aren't enough across the country. So that leaves a challenge there, and whoever needs to do something about it needs to do something about it, because this initiative of the CNG is not new. It dates back to before COVID
Yeah.
That's about more than 6 years ago.
So that was more than enough time.
More than enough time to whatever the transition. And I remember the former Vice President Oshimajo was always talking about energy transition. Now, we are here now. We are still in the transition. And it's not just for vehicles alone. We are in the entire energy the industry is transiting from the dirty fuel, so to speak, to the cleaner fuel. Now, what we have now is the availability. Even if it is there, you can't just go and collect it like water in the river. You have to find there needs to be a system through which it comes into your life. Yeah. So, government has the job cut out for it. Joke, I cannot lie. And 2027, everyone is talking about 2020. Campaigns have begun.
Yes. They have begun, and so in the next, God knows how many more months, we're going to see our screens filled with whatever calls they call their party chants. You know?
The campaign period is from now, August 19, until the day before the
election. No, I think
no, 2 days before the election.
2 days before, yes.
And so anyone who is thinking to do anything, let's please prioritize each other. Yes. It is the country first.
Yes.
Anything else
anybody else
should come after that. And I think that's our first conversation this morning.
Yes, analyzing the road to the 2027 election. And I hope you know this defections up and down. There are some of those parties when they want to campaign, they call the name of the party they're coming from. Oh my God! I hope we won't see much of that this time. Anyway. It's hilarious, really.
No, what are you talking about? Some people say there is no such thing as bad publicity. Publicity is publicity.
Yes.
So we'll be looking at the 2027 election as the first item on the agenda.
And then, who wins the petrol subsidy debate? To return or to stay away forever?
No, I beg, please. I don't even know what to say about that one yet. But thankfully, I'm not a discussant. I'm just a guest, piloting the conversation. And then we'll be looking at lifestyle today, reclaiming broken fatherhood. It's a rather difficult conversation. Excuse me, because some of the stuff that we hear, as presenters, as experts in this line, some of the things we hear from our guests are really, really touching and almost unbelievable. So, when you even talk about broken fatherhood, what do you mean and how do you reclaim it? That's on Lifestyle this morning.
And then we have our artist of the week to wrap up the show for us.
And I promise you, it is not a funny business.
Don't break your promise.
It's not a funny business. It could be funny, but it's not a funny business. That's actually it's a funny business. Anyway, do yourself a favor.
Do not.
No, please.
Do not.
Drop your cup of cocoa. Get your cup of cocoa.
Do yourself a favor and not be selfish. You're drinking without me.
I don't. See you where's your cup? Where's your? See you on the other side.
You always stay in my mind. Leave me gone. friend.
Welcome back. So, the formal road to 2027, governorship, governorship, state assembly, and the big one, the presidential elections, is officially opened with campaigns. The road to the campaigns have opened on Wednesday, August 19th. And so all the political parties are gearing up for this all-important call for votes and to start canvassing for, telling people, this is what we've done for those who've been in power before, and this is what we'll still do for you. For those who have not been in power, this is what we intend to do for you.
Well, I'm actually looking forward to the campaigns.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that it'll be different this time.
Yeah.
Well, all we have to give you first, as anchors this morning, is just a background.
Yeah.
So that the guests will be able to give you the perspectives you need. First of all, it's a 150-day campaign countdown leading up to the 2027 polling days. Presidential and National Assembly elections will happen thus. Campaign period is from 19th until the 15th, as we said. No, until the 14th. Then election day, Saturday, January 16. So your Happy New Year is not over until
January 17.
And governorship and state assembly elections happen September of the same year. September 6th. No, the campaign period, beg your pardon, for the governorship and state assembly elections is from September 6 to February 4. Election day is February 6. So January 6 for presidential election, February 6 for state elections.
Right.
Presidential and National Assembly elections, January 16. And February 6, state governorship and the assembly elections will happen on that day. And
ahead of that, the peace accord.
The peace accord has also been signed, how many days ago now? Well, 18th, of August this month. That happened in Abuja. A good number of the presidential contenders were there. Now, what are the major issues on the front burner? Cost of living.
Yes.
Number one.
Always is.
Yes, so then electoral integrity.
Yeah.
That's played out significantly during the Osun elections, the Beavers. And one of the questions that I asked about Beavers is, what's the RAM? Because my phone has 16 gig.
Yeah.
What's the RAM they are using for that one? That one will be important. National security, even though it seems like, Tony is saying something in my ears. Even though it seems to be taking different shapes now, but it is still an issue, especially internal, regional security challenges. And then judicial independence is still on the burner as well.
Yes, so today on the program, we'll have a couple of, analysts breaking this down for us and looking ahead to those elections. Chief Godi Wazirike, legal practitioner, former president of Akai Kenga. I hope I got that right.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning for joining us. We'll also have Professor Samuel Odewumi, Acting Vice Chancellor, University of Uyo, who joins us virtually. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you very much. It's nice to be here, but meanwhile, I've concluded my assignment in the beloved Uyo. I'm back in Lagos.
So now you're former. Great. Thank you for that information.
We should be having another former presidential candidate. Maybe he will know better how it feels to be a candidate. But thank you so much for joining us, gentlemen. Let's begin with you. Chief, let's begin with you. INEC has activated the 150-day campaign countdown.
Yeah.
From what you can see in the political landscape now, what are the issues you see? I mean, we have listed some, but how would you, what's your assessment of what the climate, particularly the political climate, is now, given the rhetorics we've been hearing from time to time? Is it likely to be more issue-based, or do you see the normal, usual mudslinging? playing a pivotal role?
I have to be careful in what I say. But I will say it with all sense of sincerity. Quote me. Yeah. The atmosphere is unhealthy. It is more like, oh, we are here. Who are you to come in? We are here. Who are you to think of getting in? We are here. Oh, you think you can remove us? Oh, we are here. We have the power. We can do anything we want. And it is hardly about the people. It is always about what I want, and no other person should want it. What I have, no other person should even think of coming near. And we have a number of people I refer to as minions, notwithstanding their educational qualifications. They are more like VIPs, vagabonds in position, not in power, in position. And they try to mess up the system. For God's sake, forgive me, for God's sake, elections should be about the people, taking care of the people, giving the best to the people, being a servant of the people, not their master. So when you begin to use threatening language, what do you expect? The rank and file will simply join. So when you see a man shouting, oh, my man is here, or you want to, he is actually imitating those up. As we say in our local parlance, when you see a young boy going to steal and uses his leg to break the door, it is because his father has directed him. So in today's world, in Nigeria as we see it, they are seeing politics as all is fair. Anything I can do, let me do. Any lie I can tell, let me tell. Any allegation I can make, let me make. It is hardly ever about the people.
What's also interesting about that, Prof. Bergman, Chief, is that, you know, just recently when the peace accord was signed, we remember this guy came out to speak, the presidential candidate himself, Omoyele Sowore, excuse me, was saying that, you know, he was a bit surprised to see contending presidential candidates who, you know, would normally not, you know, be in the same room. They were pretty much felicitating with each other, greeting each other with pomp, with joy, and all those things at the peace accord meeting. These guys are supposed to be opponents of each other, but they were, you know, pretty much jolly good friends at that meeting. Omoyele Sowore further stated that while they are doing that, their supporters are still at daggers drawn outside. So when you say that, you know, someone must be the one puppeteering, so to speak, it would seem like the puppet masters are not doing the same thing that they're asking or seemingly asking their minions to do, as you put it.
Well, the puppet masters don't carry weapons. Remember, if you see soldiers carrying rifles, none of them is a general. A general uses his pistol. So the puppet masters stay there, give the impression that all is well. Hug each other, hold each other by the hand, talk, wine and dine. But when they go to the backyard, they know what they tell their people. That will make somebody on this Lagos Ibadan Expressway carry a weapon because the other man who is coming is a supporter of, in fact, does not even agree with him, not even a supporter. So Omoyele was correct in a way. And that's why I always tell people, don't die for politicians. If you die for a politician, you have died for nothing. All he wants is power because he wants it.
That's another issue you're even bringing up there, because people have died over time, and it will seem like, I mean, based on electoral violence, it will seem like nothing came out of it. We'll probably come to that when we talk about security. Chief, I beg your pardon, Prof, let me come to you. You have extensively studied internal, regional planning and infrastructure over time. So from the things that you know, what political elites like, you know, the FCT minister claimed 2077 will be an easy ride for the ruling party? In your opinion, and from what you have studied and done over there, does that claim match the physical and socio-economic realities of the electorates at the grassroots, or is there something else in the offing?
Yeah, thank you very much. As I said, I don't know whether any of you have been to Uyo, that beautiful serene city. I left it behind to come back to our Lagos. So, I mean, it's a place that was fantastic. Now, seriously speaking, I will first of all take the issue of those who want to get in and those who want to, who are already in, who are preventing people from coming, and that made the environment a bit tense and clumsy and cloudy. But I will say that it is the nature of our democracy. Obasanjo said something very similar to what I want to put on the table, that we need to rethink our democracy. The idea that those who are inside, they will fight tooth and nail to keep those who are coming from outside to get in. And that those who are outside will do anything, we lie, we kill, to just remove that person inside. Now, in the middle, they put the voters or their followers, as you have observed in the studio, on the line of fire. And you see, it is the game that the democracy is all about. And one of the presidential candidates also mentioned it, that's Peter Obi, that it is time for us to review our winners take all election. Look at Osun. In spite of the failure of APC, the difference is about from 50 to 60,000 votes. 444,000 are now out in the cold. Even if it is just 10 votes, they will be out in the cold. Now, this democracy is easy for the West, that had the luxury of using African slave, colonization reward, mineral from the third world to promote their democracy luxury. I'm worried that this journey of our free democracy, Western classical democracy, may not get us to where we are going. It is a step or one step forward, another step backward, one to the left, like a drunken person, staggering forward. And look at that, compare that with China. I'm not saying we should adopt China, but a nation in a hurry, we have to watch the type of democracy. Because, I mean, look at this particular APC. When they wanted to drive Jonathan out of government, they said, what is popular? Hey, don't remove subsidy. They knew very well, in fact, Fayemi said it, they knew very well that subsidy must be removed. But they want to play to the gallery. They don't care whether that sinks the economy or not. Just let me get in. And that is what the opposition from outside, they've started doing. The interest of the masses or the interest of the country itself is never in their consideration. What is there is get there first and do whatever. So that is the basis of our problem. Now, I will put one more thing before I drop the mic now. You see, the wedge or the rim or the obstacle that I see in front of us is one, the courts. You see, the court cases, we have to be very, very careful, because court nearly tripped Osun election by giving a verdict that you have to put somebody on the ballot paper just about 48 hours to the election. If it were not a small election, that election would have crashed. It would have been dead on arrival. It wouldn't have been able to take up. So I'm worried. Later, even just about 24 hours, a PDP candidate was also asked to be put on the ballot, but for some reason, INEC was able to ignore it legally. The court is, for example, look at another trap. the ADC, the NDC, if anything should happen to them, that they will not be on the ballot for whatever legal reasons, we will be in a terrible quagmire. So we should work on how to make sure the court is very patriotic in this sense. And if Mr. President, because the box stop on his table, I have my reservation about his intervention at EFCC, not garnishing the account of Uni Osun. But all the same, he must ensure that the court, whatever they will call, whether peace accord or whatever accord they will call it, or national interest accord, the court must allow the opposition to survive. Anything that happens to ADC now and NDC may create problem for the nation. So then any court judgment that will be 24 hours to the election, that we have to print the ballot box, all these are the traps on the road to 2027.
Right. Chief, I mean, one of the things that he mentioned, of course, during when he was speaking, was the peace accord. And we spoke about that too, shortly before we came on, and I'm sure Ayotu mentioned it when he was speaking to you. The spokesperson of the is it NDC, right? Bolaji Abdullahi, right? So he was saying that the reason why someone like Atiku Abubakar did not attend the signing of the peace accord, because he doesn't understand, the rationale behind it all. That the same people, as you rightly mentioned before, that they do not take care of violence issues pre and post election. So what's the point of signing a peace accord when we don't adhere to whatever standards that peace accord is here to take care of in the first place? What are your views about this?
Well, the peace accord is actually a baby conceived and delivered by Bishop Matthew Hassan Kuka. So I had to get Abdulsalami Abubakar, former president, to be the chairman.
Yes.
He brought in the Sultan of Sokoto, he brought in the former chief judge of Federal High Court, Dem Ukeje, he brought in Ukiwe and others, well-intentioned, with the hope that those they are talking to are also reasonable people. Now, politicians quite often believe in do or die. Some say it, some don't say it. Some even go far and say this is war. But believe you me, in this country, we look forward to fair and fair election. We suffered under the military base, like what we are seeing now is not what we bargained for. So that's the aim of that peace accord. And the peace accord, they invited people. 2015, they were there. They honored them. But this year, we saw something different. More like those that are holding the peace accord people in contempt. I'm being frank. If you respect me, I invite you, and you are free. You inform me you are coming, you will come. If we send a deputy or somebody, well, somehow, if we ignore it completely, you have no regards for me. So the message came out clear that President Bola Tinubu, Atiku Abubakar, they have no respect for the peace accord. I'm being frank. It's just like one of those things people do to get by. Policeman is passing, you wave. But you don't see him as somebody who can stop any criminal from moving. So the peace accord, as well-intentioned as it was, has been violated time and time again with no consequence.
But perhaps because also there is usually more than one peace accord signed. It's usually more than once, particularly for presidential elections. It's usually more than one time that holds. Could that be a factor?
No. I don't think that's a factor. Whether you come there 10 times to come and sign peace accord. Peace accord is an address to the people of Nigeria. By you, pledging to abide by the peaceful elections, the conduct, the elections, the post-elections. That's what it is.
Do you think it should have been, or it should be legislated? Maybe that will give it some force of compliance.
Well, when I was in primary school, we heard of one word, norm. N-O-R-M, norm. We heard of another word, another expression, the mores of the society, M-O-R-E-S. I think in primary 4. It intrigued me that it is not because there is a law that says you must not do this, that, okay, there is no law, so you go. Mores of society, you are expected to know that you are seeking to lead us. The president is going to be the numero, the number one, the model, the ideal. If Mr. Tunde, Mr. Shehu, Mr. Emeka, they go out and mess up over there, you look at it and pass. But if the president messes up, what happens?
Okay.
It's the image of the country. So all those who are there are expected to be the shining examples. So I will tell my son, oh yeah, try and be like him. Will I tell my son to go and be like that man who disobeys everything because nobody's watching?
Interesting. Well, we have since been joined by Ahmed Buhari, who is a former presidential candidate of Sustainable National Party in 2019, and he was vice presidential candidate of the African Democratic Congress in 2023. He's joined us virtually. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Let's quickly take you up on one or two things. Let's start with the one that Chief Wazirike just spoke about, the peace accord. You have had to experience that at some point when presidential candidates were expected to show up, and some of them don't show up for one reason or the other. What are your thoughts on that? There are those who think, as Chief Wazirike just said, the peace accord is supposed to be a demonstration of, okay, I am committing to this, but not showing up is a suggestion of not of insignificance as far as they are concerned about the process. What are your thoughts on that, particularly from experience?
So yes, I've attended the peace accord twice, in 2018 before the 2019 general election, and I also attended in 2022 as a vice presidential candidate of the African Democratic Congress. And in both occasions, I think as the years are progressing, the whole peace accord arrangement is slowly losing its grounds and respect, and you can clearly see that in 2018, for example, I remember seeing President Muhammadu Buhari, visibly present and participating and seemed to be very, very committed to making sure that a peaceful election was going to hold. In 2022, we had President Tinubu current President Tinubu attending. We had former Vice President Atiku Abubakar present. We had other people present, and I remember that in the 2022 arrangement, there was a little bit of chaos, and the chaos was stemmed out of the fact that some presidential candidates were made to sit at the back, while some others that had bigger babarigas and agbadas were made to sit in front. And that and that sort of triggered some emotions from some presidential candidates who felt that they were not recognized as potential presidents just because they were smaller in size or because they wore a jacket to that event. And we were highly upset, and we were protesting that for what reason should we be sat at the back? Was the arrangement done in an alphabetical order, or was it done in a way that would signify that these are the candidates that the peace accord recognized or didn't recognize? And I remember people like former head of state Abdusalam Abubakar trying to calm the nerves of people who were not happy by saying that it wasn't a big deal. But I saw it as a big deal. So this year, when I watched it on TV, because I'm not going to be contesting. I'm not going to be contesting for obvious reasons. But when I watched it on TV and I saw that they had tried to put a spread to it to see that presidential candidates were all sat almost at the same level in front, I kind of ruled out the fact that there might be any sort of chaos, because now everybody will be happy that they are sat in front. But you see, leadership is very important, and it is very crucial, especially as to how you want the followership to become. I cannot, for any reason, defend why major contenders will not be present at the peace accord, because their presence at the peace accord sends a message to their followers that indeed, I do want peace during the process, and I do want you to respect peace during the process. I would like to see presidential candidates hug each other, talk to each other, so that their followers can see that this is not a do or die affair. I would also like to see presidential candidates come out openly to say, look, there are rules of engagement to everything, including war. Because during wars, we do hear things like there are rules of engagement: do not hurt women, children, elderly, do not burn places of worship, do not attack certain schools, or things like that. So if there are rules of engagement to wars, there's certainly rules of engagement to politics. It's not a do or die affair. And these messages must be sent very sternly to the followers. The leaders of these political parties must show that indeed. But if you are seeing that certain candidates are no more appearing, it is because they also probably do not think that the process has yielded anything when it comes to the respect that the process should have.
From your experience, my apologies for butting in, Mr. Buhari. From your experience, do you think it has a relevance or impact in our processes? Peace is amazing. Without peace, I mean, there can be no semblance of progress made anywhere. But as an initiative, do you see the peace accord signing that significant in our process? Because it had, as Chief Wazirike, had very good intentions. But when you are now saying that it's the relevance or the import it had is ebbing away, it raises questions of relevance.
Yes, that is because the prerequisite for peace in itself is missing in all of those conversations, which is justice. So if there can be no justice, there will be no peace. So a couple of people have felt like, okay, I really want peace to hold, but I've also asked for justice and it was denied. And the moment justice has been denied, peace cannot be found.
Okay.
And so I think a couple of things have to come in place for us to have peaceful processes across board, whether politics or any other thing.
Right. Professor Odewumi, if I can come to you with this. He talked about prerequisite for a lot of things for the elections, including he also talked about the rules of engagement, which was extensive. Perhaps one of the rules of engagement of this upcoming election, or with any election in Nigeria, is the fact that the machinery and the logistics must be solid. What do you think INEC needs to do to ensure that these things are put in place, to put its logistics in order, to ensure that the materials get to the people on time, to ensure that the elections, the elections start at 8 a.m. simultaneously in all polling stations across Nigeria, such that you don't give room to, what we're talking about the, what the peace accord wants to address, to ensure that everybody's on the same page, both the political parties, their supporters, and everybody that's working with them, so that everything is seamless and nobody has room to do any form of manipulation, which people always allege that happens during these elections.
Yeah, thank you. You are spot on. Because I've been at the ringside of election analysis since I think 2019. We used to go to Alagbado, being the first private TV station, to do the analysis of election. And since then, all the election has been having one particular word: logistic failure. So I know INEC has been working on it, but as you have asked, and somebody who was not there in 2019, wherever, should listen again. The key issues, because INEC cannot get all the vehicles that they needed for the election, they always rely on the Nigerian Road Transport Workers Union, the RTN, Road Transport Employers Association of Nigeria, and so on, for their logistics. And the problem with that is that because of economic problems or crunches, you don't have good vehicles. These are vehicles that can break down anytime. So you have three issues to contend with. The vehicle. So they have to really look at how to, if you want to use your car for Uber or Bolt, they will ask you to bring it for inspection and of a particular year, so that they will be sure of your service delivery. You will not be carrying passenger or carrying your ballot paper and be breaking down. So it is important for INEC to introduce a filter. Two, to put the leg of the NRT, those people they have outsourced to fire, or they make them sign agreement. Then they should have what we call redundancies. If they will actually need 500 vehicles in a state, they should go for 750. And I will say the same thing for the technology. Then too, before I leave the logistics of movement, the people that will drive those vehicles, the members of NRTW, RTN, and so on, they must be people that they've interviewed them. They are not those who will take paraga on the morning of the day, start misbehaving and all that. So that has to do with the man and the machine that INEC should have. They should have redundancies in the vehicles and redundancies of good pilots or good drivers that can deliver those vehicles. Secondly is the technology, the beavers. There is no problem. Some people are raising issues of the Android 10 because we are in Android 17. Those things are not necessary. They are not critical. For example, we see how it was delivered in Osun. Those are just psychedelic things that those tech companies add to their phone in order so that you will change it and continue to buy from them. The security, which is crucial, is by INEC own app. It's not by the system app. It's not by the Android app. What Android system secure is not the voting arrangement. It's the entire system, which is generic. But INEC has and must be ensured that their own app to secure the system is top-notch to avoid a dangerous glitch. So they really have to work on. And the beavers, they have to educate voters education. This also concerns the political parties. They should enlighten the voters. Look, if you have registered 10, 20 years ago and you are a farmer or you are an artisan, your fingerprints will be getting blurred. It will not be exactly, it doesn't change, but the resolution will be fading and the technology will not recognize. The same thing like in Osun, when it was observed that females were being denied accreditation visually, they now realized that most of those females were on hijab. they were wearing hijab. So they now asked them to remove, because they were not wearing hijab when they register and the face that was on the BFAS machine. So in terms of logistics, INEC has to watch out for the physical logistics, software application, and what we call reverse logistics. How do we get this ballot paper back into the forward logistics in the morning and the reverse logistics in the afternoon? The one that technology has helped now, and I hope it will work, because by midnight the result is almost out everywhere, and that is the new technology of MRAP, that we can watch it. Thank God for channels that was able to keep us posted. So we were on the ring side. We have done our calculations. We already have the figures. INEC just have to validate it. So I think these are the basic things that INEC has to watch out in terms of logistics.
Thank you. Okay, so we've spoken about the peace accord. Mm-hmm. We've spoken about, well, in a way, we've begun to talk about security.
Yeah.
We are talking about the electoral security, electoral violence, and all of that. But the general idea, Chief, of internal security has also been an issue that's bugged us for a bit. It's also a bit interesting that in recent time, it will seem like issues of internal security aren't as serious as they were a little while ago, even though we still hear pockets. Just recently also, something happened in Sokoto State and here and there like that. How significant, in your opinion, would security, internal regional security be in the conversations leading up to this election?
Well, I think next to the efficiency of INEC, internal security is the major block. It's a major stumbling block. There are some states you can't go to in the daytime, not to talk of the night time. I'll give you one example, and I'm never tired of giving it, Zamfara. Check how many fatalities you have in a month. Whether those fatalities in one state can equal the total you have in the south. Issue of security is a constant factor. You don't talk of having elections in Borno State when you have ISWAP and Boko Haram struggling for who has bigger control. Kwara State, parts of Kogi, of late, Oyo, joined in this security problem. It is a major problem. And if the government does not get its acts right, it will make sure there is no valid and respected election.
Okay. Prof, let me ask you, still talking about security, it will seem like over the years we have continually centralized the conversation around security. States have their own issues. There are policemen in states. Many of them also have their own internal workings. In Lagos, they have the last man, they have neighborhood watch, and what have you. In Kano, almost every state has one pocket of security apparatus or the other. The Southeast had Ibubiago at some point. I don't know how strong it still is. In the Southwest, they came up with Amotekun, and each state is supposed to come up with their own initiative and all of that. So, on the one hand, the federal government is responsible for security as at today, but then on the other hand, it would seem like there are those who think we have over-centralized the issue of security or internal security because the states themselves have one thing or the other to do that they seem not to be doing enough of. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, honestly, three major reams on the road to 2027. I've mentioned courts, I've mentioned INEC. The other one is security. That should be number one, because without it, nothing works. Now, your reference to local security system, for now, we are here to there. For those of us who have been advocating, not just supporting, state police, we wish we will, I mean, these people will be on ground. Although it's a double-edged sword. Our politicians can turn anything good into the other way by using it to cause their own local chaos. But with where we are now, although people are worried most of the time when you say, okay, Osun is having election and there are 100,000 police, 200,000 soldiers and all that. The risk of general election is dispersed. All the talks, we have also enough problem in their domain. The politician or political parties will not be able to move them to that area. So I need to clarify that. When people say, oh, we are having one state and they are bringing so much, it is because the politicians can now move their men from where they are. But during the general election, everybody has something to contend with. So the truth is the police have been on this thing for a long time. And this insecurity is usually some few weeks to the election. The insecurity that can torpedo the election does not occur on that day. It doesn't occur on the election day. So the pre-election, like you remember that Jonathan had to postpone the election because of what was happening in the Northeast, when they now had to bring security contractors to drive away the bandits in order to have a modicum of election in the Northeast. So it's a very serious one. It could be major. And sometimes political parties in power tend to say, okay, they are using it to discredit me so that I will lose. I mean, most governments in power say this. Even Makinde at Ibadan was saying it. I don't know for what reason will anybody want to, but that is the situation, that when election is coming, insecurity itself becomes a political weapon. They weaponize and politicize it. So it is very crucial that we get it right. For just look at Osun, 2 weeks before the election, you have the highest level of fatality. So we should get pre-election right. Then on the election day, usually there is no problem. When you are likely to have problem of insecurity is close to declaration. When the political parties already have their figure, if there is a conflict between the figure their political agent brought to them and the figure that INEC is posting, now you can have an opera like the baboon and the blood and of Buhari, that he said that there will be monkey and blood or something to that effect. So it's a very crucial thing, and I believe those in charge, we know that there won't be anything going if the security is not well taken care of.
Well, let me ask Mr. Buhari the same question, but a different tinge to it for you, Mr. Buhari. From your experience, how do these things happen, particularly at the state levels? Because we can blame the federal government all we want. All these things happen first in states, secondly among political actors. So from your experience, from what you know and whatever you want to advise, how we circumvent this, how do these things happen where political opponents, so to speak, who are neighbors, take on each other, turn on each other before the election? And sometimes, like some kind of irony, on election day, it's like everything is quiet. So give us an idea of how these things happen and what Nigerians should look out for, particularly those who are not members of any political party.
It is largely political desperation. So a lot of politicians come around with their desperation. They want to intimidate. And I'm very happy that Chief Samuel did mention that indeed, to a large extent, all of this mayhem do happen a couple of days, couple of weeks before the actual election. It is all in a bid to give a scare, to give a fright to opposition, to say, you know what, it could be worse if you do not back down. It could be worse if you do not, support us on election day. And that is why you find that you record high casualties even before the election day. Sometimes you do record casualties on election day, especially during ballot box snatches and, drive from polling units that oppositions will come to give as well, just to make sure that they're in control of the entire space. But if you ask what I think can mitigate all of this, the truth of the matter is that the police and the security apparatus or the security systems that are in place do, in most cases, make arrests. And the question is now back to justice. These arrests that are being made, to what end? How do we see that these individuals or group of persons that have been arrested as a result of being part of a chaotic movement, or the maiming of people, or the attack of people, or even the killing of people, what does the justice system do to them? How do they face the legal system? Do they get prosecuted? Do we see an open trial that indeed gives us evidences to show that this was what they took part in, and that is why they are being punished in this way? I remember during the 80s, and I keep telling younger people, I said, look, during the 80s, whenever the government finally captures people who have been very bad, whether you're talking about Monday Osumbo or Anini or the likes, they do not just say they have been arrested and they're going to be tried. They get arrested, they do an open trial, and they do an open execution. Now, when these things happen, the society in its entirety goes to mourning. Even though they were bad men, we go like, oh my God, you can see what happened to Monday Osumbo and Anini. If you do not desist from these things, it could be coming to you. And you see young people trying to respect themselves. You see old people reminding themselves that indeed there is a higher authority. So I know that not all politicians support the mayhem that goes on, but some desperate followers also stand in the front line believing that if my Oga eventually wins this thing, or if that person that I know who knows somebody that knows that politician eventually wins this thing, I could actually be getting closer to government. And I just want to buttress this point, because indeed, there are a lot of politicians that do not send these boys on this assignment. They do it because they believe that if their candidate gets into power, they get a better chance to be closer to the authority. I want us to have a policing system, a legal system that will be very swift to making sure that whatever or however it happens, that justice is being served.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, Chief.
Okay. So, Prof, if we go by, all these things that we've just spelled out, what do you think 2027 really looks like? If you want to paint your own picture, the candidates, the parties, their followers, we know who's responsible for what, but, how can we really rein in, all these people such that, at the end of the day, we talk about insecurity, but sometimes we have this situation that is the people that are used to perpetrate all these violence and mayhem during elections. Those are the ones that get out of hand post-election, and then we now start all over again to start solving drug abuse issues, or what have you, the things that they have to do to actually get into character to destabilize the process, if that's what they were, asked to do. So what kind of picture do you want to paint going forward? The things that we need to do beyond just, the peace accord is just something, I'm going back to it, it's just something like a framework, but I think it paints a bigger picture of what really needs to be done for the political actors and for those that are following, because we as people, we're just watching. There's really not much you can do but to vote. So paint that picture for us, what you think should happen and how we can get around these issues.
The 2027 election will be, what I want first is a campaign season that revolves around economy, security, political organization, the micro and the micro economy, and the conduct of the election itself. For instance, we want to see more of town halls than all this hula baloo of a campaign ground, which is more expensive. Although it drives the emotion, and nobody should remove emotion totally from campaign, not even in the Americas or in the Western world, as we normally say. But all the same, look at the debate in Osun. That that is the time when the issues are brought up. I want to see, when Tinubu, what was said in the last 2023 election, that they called him Bala Blue, is because he was trying to say, because people don't remember the first part of the statement, he said, town hall is much better. Then he had a twist of tongue. Rather than say the hula baloo of the campaign, I say Bala Blue of the nobody was in that. So actually, I want the political parties to go more on town hall, where there will be intellectual debate, and which will reduce the risk of insecurity. Even in Osun, as volatile as it is, those who organize the debate, they make sure that the most volatile gubernatorial candidates, they do not even meet themselves. The voters do not meet themselves at all. And that is where, although we are all going back to the peace accord, it's a symbolic, it's not a legal thing, instrument, but it's a symbolic gesture to tell everybody that this thing is not a do or die affair. So I want to see more town hall meetings. Then I will want the judiciary to call themselves and say, let us save this country. Booby trap judgments should be avoided as much as possible. Let ADC know where they are now. Let NDC know where they are. And then we pleaded with politicians. So please, don't just do things just because you can use it to trick the opponent. The whole over 200 million people's fate is at stake. So, and this may be my last bite at the mic. I say that the season is a season of, it should be a season of ideas, a seasons of debate, not season of war. And if we take to this, then too, I wish INEC had been able to revalidate the voters register. Unfortunately, it's too late for them now, because people are saying it's too close to the election. Because what you have in that voter register is a voodoo register. It's already ballooned by people who have died, people who have moved out, people who have gone to elsewhere. They are still in the register. It's like a room where people are just entering. There is no exit. But so you will now have a turnout. If the best we can have is around 30%. Voters turnout. If it is really good, we get to 40, but we may stay around 20 if there's not enough conscientization and if the election is not competitive.
Okay, Prof, Chief, I'll come to you on this, and this is one of the crucial issues, and you started, by talking about it earlier, the people, the electorate at the grassroots. On our own list of dominant campaign issues is cost of living. Yeah. And it will seem like, as to use the words Prof used, that issue has also been weaponized against anyone in government at this time, or at any time ever, because people are always talking about things being more expensive and all of that. How do you see that playing significantly, seeing that on the one hand, the initiatives taken by the federal government needed to be taken? On the other hand, the biting effect has not also abated. Add that to the microeconomic issues Prof talked about, which is what the state governments should have done to mitigate some of the impact of those policies.
Sorry, Chief, before you answer, I want to add to what Ayaz just said. The other day, the governor of Osun State went to meet President Tinubu just to thank him, and he was talking, and he said that he's been hearing rumors that the people that say they are coming into government say they are going to bring back fuel subsidy, just to add to the cost of. So let's just put that in mind when you're answering this question. So answer everything.
Well, you have to be honest.
Yes.
When you are ruling the people, tell them the truth. People are suffering.
Yeah.
And I always tell those in government, I know there is something they cover themselves. They cover their faces in something black. Right. When they get to power, your friend in power is a friend lost. Wow. Most of the time. It's only when they leave office that then they remove it and begin to see. those in power do not understand that a person who is the lowest paid person cannot feed himself in today's salary. And he needs to go around begging. So cost of living is a permanent factor in today's election. So when you see people chasing a vehicle, throwing bread, carrying the picture of a candidate, and they're scrambling for the bread, they are facing reality. Stomach infrastructure is at work. Now, when the issue of this subsidy came up, and I will always say it without any fear of contradiction, it was mismanaged.
The idea or the returns?
No, mismanagement is how it was handled. Okay. Yes, you need to remove it, but then it's like a house. You want to put a new door somewhere so that people can pass easily. Before you break down the wall, you must check the foundation, reinforce it. So it's like the president said, oh, subsidy is gone overnight. Everything jacked up. Foreign exchange, overnight. And we never recovered from it. So it is a factor in today's election. Secondly, somebody earning 18,000 under Jonathan is richer than somebody earning 100,000 under Bola Tinubu today. He can, under Jonathan, with 7,000, he can buy a bag of rice. Go and check now. In those days, people used to dash us for Christmas hampers. They'll bring all those things. Not anymore. So cost of living is a determinant. I'll always tell them, if they give you the money, collect it, but vote according to your conscience. Like a voter said in Osho, bring that to Juju, I go swear, but I go collect your money, I will vote.
Yeah.
I will vote according to my conscience, and I will live by it. But then, those in government see no evil, hear no evil. You can't go to President Tinubu and start telling him about the hardship in the country. No. He will listen to you, but next time you will not be allowed to come near.
So you think he's not aware of the realities?
He's not facing a reality. Because
is he aware of how
you are aware if you face the reality. Okay, two of them are together. And where do they get the reality? The minister feeds you the kind of information that will make him swell up. But their kitchen cabinet, it's like when you get people who are well-made, who are not hungry, who are not contractors, who are not chasing anything. You sit down with them, you remove your abada, you bring down your cap, and you sit down. You hear the truth. If you have a car today, and you are filling that tank with 15,000 then, try 150,000 naira today, you may not fill that tank.
Okay. Well, let me quickly ask Mr. Buhari about that one. Do you think the president is aware? I mean, you've heard Chifu Wazirike. Do you think he's aware of the realities or people are shielding him from those realities? Consequently, the biting hardship is not known to the president?
Well, let me respond like late President Muhammadu Buhari. I am not aware. But on a serious note, your kitchen cabinet, your people around you, they are what makes your government succeed or fail. Their ability to tell you the truth at all times, your ability to be open to criticisms, to be open to backlashes. You don't even have to respond to every criticism that comes your way. Certain criticism might come your way and you just, take it into account without necessarily getting any of your media aides to respond, because sometimes, indeed, those responses actually even, further trigger the emotions of the Nigerian people. Everything Chief has just mentioned is true with the current economy. I wonder how, sometimes I'm looking at my staff and I'm wondering how they're actually managing the meager salary that they seem to be receiving, even though it has been increased. And these are the realities on the ground. And for us to hear certain politicians talk about reversal of the fuel subsidy, and I keep telling people, all the times during the campaigns, I insisted that the fuel subsidy should not be removed. Because if indeed the fuel subsidy regime was tied to the fact that a couple of marketers were the ones responsible for the diversion of our resources, or the hike of the resources, or the mismanagement of the subsidy itself. Then call them out. There can be over 1,000 people that are doing that. Call them out and ask them to return our monies, or create a new regime because of fuel subsidy. Because indeed, across the world, you find different countries, especially countries we think we want to emulate, subsidizing one thing or the other for their people, sometimes even as little as bread. So if this petroleum product, if this hydrocarbon is something that is embedded in our earth, then I do believe that to a large extent, we should be able to subsidize it for our people. And say, okay, fine. Now we know that the middlemen were responsible for all of the nonsense that was happening. How do we curb them? And how do we see that even if we're going to continue the subsidy regime or no subsidy regime, that everything was going to be done in Naira and not in dollars, so that our Naira can be appreciated, our Naira can be used very well, and then we can be more balanced when it comes to how we stand among community of nations.
Well, there are so many issues to look at as far as that matter is concerned, because on the one hand, we've heard the president's lieutenants come out to say, well, the president is very aware, and even the president sometimes comes and says, look, I look at the YouTube and social media, and I don't want to look at them anymore because of the way people are always taking him up. But anyway, I guess the president's men will have their jobs cut out for them. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your thoughts this morning. Mr. Ahmed Buhari is a former presidential candidate, Sustainable National Party in 2019. He was also vice presidential candidate of the African Democratic Congress in 2023. Thanks for your time. We also had a former acting vice chancellor, University of Uyo, Professor Samuel Odeomi. Thank you so much for your time and your thoughts this morning, Prof. As well as Chief Godi Uwazurike, a legal practitioner and former, all of you are former something or the other, former president of Akai Kenga. Thank you so much for your time this morning, gentlemen.
In the end, we are all former.
We will all be former.
We will all be former.
We are still current presenters of this program. So we'll be back with you in a moment. Please stay with us. When we started, we spoke about this fuel subsidy thing. And it seems we thought it was done and dusted. But now it seems like the conversation is coming up again. The presidency and former Vice President Atiku seem to be locked in a fierce political dispute over the removal of the petrol subsidy. Well, that's got a bit more intensified when the former vice president, now running for office under the African Democratic Congress platform for the 2027 election, he pledged to restore the fuel subsidy to curb the severe cost of living crisis. And so that's really the core of the issue we are looking at this morning. Let's have the conversation with two gentlemen who have joined us. Okiti is convener Africa Business Convention, and he's also Chief Executive Officer, Think Business Africa Limited. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
As well as Mr. Peter Esele, former President, Trade Union Congress. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. He joins us from our Abuja studio. Okay. Let me begin with you, Mr. Kitty. First of all, what do you make of this debate? We thought we were done with it.
I don't think there's a way we would have been done with it, given what has happened in the last 3 years. And what I mean by that is that we had the removal of fuel subsidy, of course, on the day of inauguration. Then 2 weeks after, we had the liberalization of the exchange rate. So if you look at what has happened in the economy in the last 3 years, we've had what I call the most consequential economic period in Nigeria's history. So I am not surprised that the forthcoming election, that's the 2027 election, would definitely be fought on the basis of what has happened in the last 3 years. So I'm not surprised that we are not done with it.
Well, Mr. Sele, your thoughts because one of the arguments that's already out there is that we know that even though the president made the announcement that was not in his speech, subsidy is gone, he prefaced that statement by saying that the administration that just ended already terminated the subsidy regime by June of the same year, 2023. But here we are, everyone still credits the president with removing subsidy, when actually the previous administration did not budget for it beyond 6 months. So I don't know if you think that's a valid conversation valid perspective to the conversation, so there is a better understanding of what the issues are, Mr. Esele.
I would say just based on what you said, I thought this subsidy debate was over. And fortunately, Pengassin is going to have a new president today, and he's going to be welcome to the subsidy debate again. But one thing is very clear. Whether we go back to subsidizing petrol or we remove subsidy, as we have done already, what we should be asking ourselves is the vehicle. I think that's where the problem is. The system, the structure, and the process to make sure that the benefit of subsidy removal cascade down to the ordinary man on the street. Once that is not done, then we are going to have this debate, and it's good that we're having it's becoming an issue for the 2027 election. It's going to be something that is going to be much talked about. But again, we also need to separate the grains from the chaff so that people will better understand and assimilate where we are going, and also give the politicians the issue for them to have an understanding of what it is. I think the problem we have, whether subsidy is removed or subsidy is there, is the problem of governance.
So talk to us from what you know. I mean, having been president of TUC, you have been frontal, you have a first-hand information of what the issues are as far as this fuel subsidy regime issue is concerned. What exactly was subsidy? Now that it's also biting, there are those who will also reference the fact that it's because, of this subsidy removal that states now get a lot more resources than they used to get before. So give us an understanding of what the subsidy was and what has happened and what is supposed to be happening that is not happening. And who should we be calling out?
Okay. First thing is subsidy, crude oil is traded in US dollars. It's not traded in Naira. Crude oil is an international commodity, which invariably means that you buy a liter of petrol or you buy crude, let's say you buy a crude for $100. And then that $100, if you convert it at 1,500 or 1,400, that gives you about 140,000. And then you have to bring it to the country. And then you have to now look at insurance, you have to look at freight. And by the time you now take away the cost, all of the cost element away from it, then that now becomes what you are going to pay. So if at the end of the day, the pump price goes for, you're supposed to buy a liter of petrol for 500 Naira, and then the government now says, no, you are now going to buy it at 300 Naira. So the difference between that 500 and 300 Naira is where the subsidy comes in. So that's where the government is subsidizing. Now, state governors are getting more money, federal government is getting more money. So I made reference earlier on that the challenge we face is actually the governance issues. And when I say governance issues, I mean, if we have an omnibus plan, what's the plan? There's no single state in Nigeria that has an effective transport system. The cost of living we are talking about is between cost of transportation and rent. So if you are able to take care of transportation especially, I support subsidizing transportation. It's done all over the world. As civilized, if we want to civilize in quote, we all make reference, if those days when they want to take away subsidy, they call America and they call European countries. If you go to UK, for example, you come down from Heathrow, you're allowed from Heathrow, you have multiple avenues for you to go back into town. You either go by tube, or you go by taxi, or you go by chauffeur-driven car, depending on what you want. But in Nigeria, we don't have any of those alternatives. So whose responsibility it is to make that happen? It's the responsibility of the state government. Now, let me just give you a simple analysis of what is playing out now. The 5 states already, you have Sokoto, you have Cross River, you have Ogun State, you have Enugu, and I still have some couple of states that are coming up to set up an airline. So please ask me what you are doing with an airline in a country where you say 70% of us live above poverty line. So just ask. So now the amount of money that is meant for, that should have gone for making an effective transportation for the ordinary man, you're not using it to even favor the privileged ones like you and I. If you want to fly, the average cost of a return ticket from Lagos to Abuja is about 300,000. That's not for the ordinary man to undertake. So we also need to answer some of these questions. The whole country, the movement of passenger traffic in all Nigeria airports is about 17 million. That's 17 million, you have 4.3 million international travels, and the local travels is about 12 million. Now, situate that 12 million inside 200 million people. So you now find out these are where the challenges are. Our priorities, we are not getting it right.
Okay,
so just
one quick issue before we bring it to Mr. Okiti.
That is an area we should be looking at.
Yeah, just one issue before Mr. Okiti comes back in. And I'm going to be very, very direct. There are rumors that I think it's the presidency that is trying to defend that now. Even I think it's a camp of Alhaji Atiku Abubakar which holds the position that the federal government is still surreptitiously paying subsidy. What are your thoughts on that? Do you agree?
If the federal government is doing that, I don't think that is visible in the way it is. If they are paying subsidy, how are they paying the subsidy? Because we only have one means of getting things in now. I think Dangote Refinery is even the major ones now supplying petrol. So I'm not aware. It may be a rumor, but from my finding in the industry, I don't think that is doable. But again, I'm happy that we're having this conversation so that it comes up, people now know that, okay, who do we hold accountable for all of this? State government has a role, federal government has a role, local government have a role.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Esele. Let me come to you, Dr. Okiti. The presidency claims that a lot has been saved since the removal of subsidy. About 15.8 trillion naira was saved between mid-2023 and late 2025. From the macroeconomic perspective, can we trace these savings to Nigeria's infrastructure, healthcare, and all those other things that the government usually promises that if we have the fundings, we will do for you? Or does the public skepticism have financial merit to all of these things? What do you think?
And that is why I said this debate, was not going to go away, because we've had 3 years of the most consequential economic period in Nigeria's history. So, and I think it's important that we go back to some period before that May 29 in 2023. One, the first thing was that all the major presidential candidates actually said they will remove fuel subsidy. But they were all doing it from one narrow perspective, which was the fiscal implications. And that is where most Nigerians limit the understanding of the removal of fuel subsidy. But the fuel subsidy does not only have fiscal implications. It has fiscal implications, but it also has implications, economic implications. And when we talk about economic implications, we're talking about investment, growth, and jobs. So those are two things. You have fiscal implications, and that is what Mr. Esele has been talking about. So if you talk about fiscal implication, the net effect, in fact, from the scorecard released by the federal government in the last week, the net effect, you will say, probably has been even negative. Because, okay, the savings from fuel subsidy, you've used it for increase in wages, some of infrastructure, some has gone to the states, and obviously all these things. We can debate how they are used, like you said, governance issues. But as an economist, my focus will be on the long-term economic implications. Because the reason why it's very important to look at the long-term implications, that means in relation to investment, growth, and jobs, is because for over 40 years that we had that subsidy, what we did not know, the counterfactual that was not available to us, is that we destroyed that sector, the opportunities in that sector completely. You know, at one point we were even producing, at one point we could not even produce. We started importing everything that we used. What that means is that there was no investment in Nigeria, there was no economic growth from that process, and it means that there were no jobs. So when we now talk of the removal of soil subsidy, you will say, oh, people will say, okay, look at, oh, the Dangote refinery, oh, it was already in place before they removed the subsidy. However, there is no way the Dangote refinery would have survived without the removal of soil subsidy. And the people talking about returning that fuel subsidy now, we will need to understand what kind of arrangement they want to put in place. Because let me just quickly talk about one anomaly, for instance. Let's assume you even successfully negotiate with domestic producers, because it's not only Dangote. Let's say you successfully negotiate with domestic and say you want to pay subsidy. Let's say you pay subsidy of 400 naira or per liter. What happens to our border? You know, when those petrol start going again across the border, what happens to that? Are we going to be paying the subsidy for neighboring countries as well? Then what happens to the investment made by these refineries? For instance, let's just only stick to Dangote. We had a 20 billion investment, let's say, in the last 3 years. Now, looking to expand the same refinery and looking to put up a similar refinery in East Africa, those investments would not have been possible. Now you have all over, everyone wanting to invest. The reason they want to invest the 5 billion, whether it's 20 billion you call it, is because we have removed subsidy. So the economic opportunities in terms of investment, in terms of growth, and in terms of jobs are now clear. Are they sufficient yet? No. But in the long term, these are the things that removal of soil subsidy has made possible. And this would not have been possible if we did not remove the subsidy.
Now, those who would also reference the fact that while the subsidy removal is there, you talked about the fiscal, effect and all of that. As an economist, and I'm glad you are one, at the end of the day, it's the private economy of the individual that is important to them.
Absolutely.
So if you remove fuel subsidy, and the ripple effect is not just it's billowing effects into my pocket.
It's not that ripple.
They're not just ripples, they are billowing effects, and such that, as Chifu Azrike said the other time, what 7,000 naira could buy some 5, 6, 7, maybe 10 years ago, 70,000 naira may not even be able to purchase it now. So at the end of the day, it's the effect on the people. And it would seem like the effect was either not considered or not being cushioned for one reason or the other.
Okay, so I'm not going to sit down here and deny that, because, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. So we call it the bread and butter economics. So the bread and butter, and that is why I said, in terms of welfare gains, is virtually non-existent. In fact, it's like we have gone backwards. However, that is if you look at it only from the assumption that the reason we are where we are is only because of the removal of fuel subsidy. That's not the truth. It's not. It's a complex mix of the removal of subsidy, right? The liberalization of the exchange rate, the poor structural foundations of the economy when it comes to power, transport, logistics. The structure were already bad. So when you now remove first subsidy and liberalize the exchange rate, you can then imagine the chaos. So that's one. But there is one dimension which Mr. Esele mentioned, which we should not forget. And that is the crux of the matter. He calls it governance. I will call it the weak, indisciplined fiscal expenditure framework of this country, because that is the only reasons why the gains are not translating to the individual welfare gains. Until we see a process whether I call it governance process, systemic process, a system where you can really see that each government expenditure, when it goes up like this, we can see how it becomes welfare gains for the ordinary man, then we'll continue to struggle. But that was not because fuel subsidy was removed. That has always been the case.
Okay.
And I'm not saying that the current government should not do anything about it. I'm just saying it wasn't because of the removal of fuel subsidy.
Now, to the governors, it will seem like you and Mr. SLA exchange notes as far as, the governance issues are concerned. So I'm going to put it to you, Mr. SLA, direct. You talked about macro and micro economic issues the other time. Everybody knows that the federal government holds the ace when it comes to macroeconomic issues. But the micros, there's those who expect that since the states now get a lot more resources, some of the things that Dr. Okiti here is mentioning about the trickle-down effect should have been done more by the states because they now have a lot more resources. And you said it the other time, that instead of paying attention to the things that will affect the common man directly, we are still seemingly appealing to the elites. How do you think these issues need to be addressed in a way that Nigerians understand what the issues are? The bitter pill is a bitter pill. Nobody likes a bitter. I don't like taking injections. But I must take injections if I must take injections. And it will seem like I've also heard that it's something that all men dread. I don't know whether it's the truth. So in what ways should we be communicating to the people these two sides, the Atiku side and the presidency side of this issue, so that we know, because whether we like it or not, they're going to form part of the things that will make up the conversations in the build-up to this election.
Yes, thank you very much. I think one of the things that the current administration lack, which is also something I will also go back to say when we also had President Jonathan, is that they just don't know how to communicate. You see, one of the biggest problems we have is your ability to communicate. And communication is a two-way thing, to communicate effectively. And what this administration does most times is that their communication, I will put it in a way that is combative. Just come out and let the people know. Yes, you take away subsidy. Once you take away subsidy, you float your currency. It's not going to be manner in this administration has only been there 3 years. Sometimes when I hear some commentaries, I'm wondering, it's as if the administration has been there for 10 years. They are just 3 years old, and they've taken a decision that no president in Nigeria has ever taken. And then there's going to be pain. It's going to be associated with pain. But what I expect this government to do would have been be upfront with it. Tell the people, oh, we are taking this away. This is what is going to happen. And then also not tell them this is where we are going. In 10 years, you can do short term, medium term, long term. And then people now have KPIs to judge you. It's okay, are you achieving all of this? And if there are areas that you see that there are also gaps, you reach out to the state governors. And one thing that we are talking about politics and we're talking about campaigns. I think all the political parties are equally the same. Okiti said something about the last election. Everybody says they were going to take away subsidy. Even when I was talking to the union, when this whole thing started, and we were having a debate, and I was like, the president campaigned that he was going to take away subsidy. He said he was also going to float his currency. And you guys elected him. So if he's been elected by Nigerian people, why saying all of this? Then the union should also give him the benefit of a doubt and let's see how his 100 days honeymoon will go. And the president took advantage of his 100 days honeymoon period. So the most important thing is, first, you have to communicate. Be upfront. Let people know this is what is coming. And then when you know, Okiti made reference to investment in the economy. I'm in that sector, and I know that the last 3 years has been better than 10 years, more than 10 years in that sector. There's huge investment inflow coming into the oil and gas right now. And there are still many more coming in. Now, how do we now cascade this to the ordinary man on the street? Because if you're telling somebody that we are having investment of about $30 billion coming into the oil and gas industry because of subsidy removal, the man wants to know, how does that benefit me? So that now comes to where you now situate, what are the governors doing? I can't stop talking about it. What are the governors doing? what are the local government chairmen doing? Because the federal government is the macro side of the economy, while the micro side of the economy is actually the local and the state government. So if they are not doing anything and just doing whatever they like with the money and building airlines and constructing, and nobody is saying anything. I've always said, in civil society, in all the states, you don't hear them challenge. I also spoke to TUC chairman in some of these states, and I said, you guys don't talk about it. You don't look at the budget of the state government. It's easier for everybody to abuse the president, abuse the federal government, but nobody is doing similar thing. So for me, the federal government, first thing they must do is to communicate effectively. Tell people the way it is. You just made reference to taking an injection. I don't enjoy it either. But the doctor had to explain to me the importance of me having to take this injection and what it will do to my head. Short term, medium term, long term. So government should let us know. I have 4 kids. If government is talking about this is what is going to happen to my children, and I see that, oh, it's looking good for them, then it becomes easier for me to swallow what it is. But if government is not communicating effectively, not coming up front to tell people this is what it is, we may just walk into another cul-de-sac, because politics is not won by the best candidate. Politics is won by somebody who's able to appeal to the emotions and propaganda of the people.
Right. Dr. Okiti, I mean, let me stay with that analogy of injection that you guys are scared of, right? Apart from...
guys.
You said men are scared of injection.
Your husband.
Right, because what usually happens is that, he just said about, if the doctor had to tell him that, this is what the injection will do for you if you only sit down and take it, but they had to explain to him. But what they should also explain is, just like economic reforms, the initial pain. That's one of the reasons people are scared of injections. The first prick, the initial pain, and then when they pull out the needle, that also is very painful. I've taken a number of injections, so I know. I think that's where the communication he's talking about should have taken place. There will be initial pains, and then after a while, everything will work itself out, but it will take a while, to do that.
I understand. I mean, I'm a policy communications person, and I understand when people say the government is not communicating. However, they may communicate and people are not hearing.
Yeah.
No, sir.
No, I'm coming. No, I'm not giving an excuse here. I said they may communicate and people are not hearing.
I just want to delineate a difference.
Yeah.
There is information. And there's communication.
Okay.
Information is just the fact. Communication is a process.
It's a process. Exactly. Okay. Yeah. They may share some information and people are not listening because the communication is a long thing. Okay. So where we are now, at the moment, we must understand. That is why I agree that the government has to be a bit empathetic. We must agree that Nigerians are in pain. The cost of living crisis is a major crisis. However, if there's any point I want anyone to take out of my own conversation here, it is that we can't trace the cause of where we are now to only the removal of fuel subsidy. Yeah. Because if we do that, we are going to be creating another layer and a bigger layer of problem if we just say, restore fuel subsidy and we will all be fine. We will not all be fine just by restoring fuel subsidy. It can happen. So it's a very complex thing. So you have to talk of, the money that goes to states, how is it spent? What is it used for? Like you have alluded to. You have to now say what's happened, for instance, to investments that have been made on the basis of the removal of fuel subsidy. What's happened to the gains of our foreign reserves? Many people think it's not connected. It is. It is connected to it. What's happened to it? And if we remove subsidy, what would that arrangement look like? So that is one foundation. The other element then is now going to the bread and butter that you are talking about. The bread and butter is that fiscal framework, fiscal expenditure framework I talked about. Whether you say the federal, that's one dimension. The states, that's another dimension. The local government, then that is another dimension. So if you look at the states, for instance, I don't even want to mention any state. I don't want to mention, but we must ask ourselves a very, very simple question. when people ask, what do you mean by this discipline, in fiscal framework? I say it's very, very simple. Look around you. Anybody that has gone into government at a very, very high level, whether it's local government, whether it's state government, whether it's federal government, how come they suddenly become wealthy? I'm not saying it's corruption, I'm not saying it's waste, and I'm not saying it's leakages. But how come they suddenly become wealthy? How come when people hear, oh, you are now in government, how come they get excited? Yeah. Why don't they get excited that you're working in channels? So it means that for the entire country, if we don't fix the way we get money and the way we spend it, to ensure that that process, everyone is taken care of in that process, whether it's in relation to infrastructure, whether it's in relation to housing, whether it's in relation to transport, it just means that a governor goes in without a plan. How much do we have in this treasury? Oh, I want to establish an airline. That is what I now like. Do you get my point? And nobody, not even the State House of Legislature, can say no. So it is that process, that indiscipline process, that is the reason why, whether it is subsidy, whether it's liberalization of it, if we keep increasing government's revenue, and we can increase it forever, we will not see the effect on the ordinary Nigerians. Except we fix that process and say, look, we have a very disciplined process of how we make money and how we spend the money. So I'm just responding. It's not about subsidy, and I'm not saying subsidy should not be, of course, subsidy should not even go back. There's no debate about that. And that is why my focus is on the economic opportunities created by that. Yeah. Because that is one area people are not looking at. So why we have problem with the way government resources is earned and spent, I don't have any issue at all about the economic opportunities, the investment opportunities, the growth opportunities, and of course the jobs opportunities created by that policy.
Right. So, Mr. Sele, sometimes, we think of it this way, between the devil and the deep blue sea. Subsidy was there when, before the former President Buhari removed it from just before he left office, and people complained about a cabal, the rich getting richer, those people, the ones collecting the subsidies are just, collecting all that money, but the people were enjoying the benefits of paying lower cost of fuel. And then subsidy is gone. And of course, the pump price of fuel increased, and then people are complaining, we're suffering, the high cost of living. So, I mean, a lot of economists are saying the subsidy should not come back. But then again, the people are complaining that we're suffering too much. Where should we be in all of this? What do you think, should happen if you're talking to the people? Are you going to tell them to please wait a little while longer, things will get better, or what are you going to tell the government, advise the government to do in this at this period in time?
I think it's a catch-22 position, but one thing is very clear. I made reference to governance issues. I was just trying to be very diplomatic in a way by using the word governance issues. And it also now comes to our values. A lot of this problem we are talking about, Okiti is talking about indiscipline in our fiscal way of conducting ourselves. But it all comes down to our values. If we value hard work, we value people earning their income, you find out that we will not have a lot of these issues that we're dealing with. The fact is, what are our values? Okiti made reference to the fact that you suddenly get into government and you become very wealthy. How do you know that government is a business in itself? Getting into government is a business in itself. Is that once somebody is elected, you get 1,001 congratulatory messages. So that stems from values. So when somebody comes in, and this guy, before he became a councillor, he's on a bike and suddenly becomes a councillor and he's not driving a Lexus 570. And the next thing we all gather to give him a chieftaincy title. That is also part of our values. And then what now comes, that now dovetail. Politicians don't give you what you deserve. Politicians give you who you are. Because what politicians want, they want power. And they can tell you what you want to hear. They can give you what you want in order to get that power. So if we are not asking them, that's where it's also very important for Nigerians to also stand up for themselves. It's not only government. Every time we say government, government, what about we? What are we standing for? What is important to us? What do we think about our children? So when we are able to take that to heart, you are going to find out that things will gradually change. Am I going to say we should go back to subsidy? I would not be a party to that. Because I'm in that industry and I know what happened in that subsidy regime. Not a single person was prosecuted. We keep saying people were stealing our money and we were subsidizing the entire West Africa. Yes, that's true. But what the union kept emphasizing at that time was that, okay, please put up an effective transport system. Let us know what we benefit in terms of healthcare. And all of these that we've talked about, when I started, I used the word system, structure, and process. So the vehicle you made available will determine your system, will determine your structure, and will determine your process. If we live in a society of anyhowness, whether we take away subsidy, whether we bring back subsidy, the anyhowness will reflect in how we conduct ourselves and will reflect in the standard of living. I still can't understand why I was born in Benin City. There used to be bus parks. You know where to come, you know where to disembark, where to board. Our streets were numbered. You could get a letter. And we may think that those things are not important. But those things are a rather systemic decay that also now dovetail whether subsidy or no subsidy. So that's why we must look at the economy from a composite perspective. And if we're able to look at it from a composite perspective, then our values will now drive how clean our society becomes. And also now determine who becomes our president, who becomes our governor, who becomes our local government chairman. Okay. All of these, there's the economic side of politics, I agree, and there's the political economic side of politics. Okiti is an economist, I know, but I also know that the president will also, whoever wants to be president of Nigeria, will not only be interested in the political side of politics or the economic side of the society, but he will be interested in the economic side of the politics. Economics will also say all things being equal, but the president himself and politicians know that all things are never equal. So it's to find the balance between all things being equal and to make sure that the future of Nigerians are guaranteed. And then that way, let's hope they can win an election.
Okay. Before we, because we are coming to, the chicken is coming home to roost, so to speak now. Would you say then that this conversation between Alhaji Atiku Abubakar's camp and the presidency is all political talk or just some conversation that needs to be had? Because the PIA is already explicit on whether or not subsidy is a thing to be considered, isn't it?
Yes. The PIA is very clear. The PIA is a law. It's a law now. So would I say it's a political talk? I wouldn't want to go into that side of politics so that you don't end up offending somebody, don't start feeling that you are undermining what they are putting forward. No. I would say it's a conversation that we should have, and it's a conversation that the Atiku camp will come up and then explain further, because Nigerians are going to ask a lot of questions. How do you intend to do it? And then it's also an opportunity for the current administration to also now communicate. I'm happy the way you define communication and information. What the government have been doing is actually be informing Nigeria. They've not been communicating. So let's hope that this will now, both sides will now come up to not tell us, okay, how do you intend, if you want to bring back subsidy, how do you intend to do it? These are the investments that the removal of subsidy have brought into the country, and this ABCD has been the benefit. And then you that took away the subsidy, you also have to explain what has been the benefit and how you expect all of this to cascade down to the ordinary man in the short term, medium term, and the long term. Well, I think it's a better conversation. It's a good conversation to have. Okay. And at the end of the day, people will be better informed to decide where they want to go. Okay.
Well, Dr. Okiti, the presidency argues that PIA already dismantled, the subsidy regime. So the question then I would want to ask you is, if a government or anyone attempts to restore this subsidy in any way, manner, shape, or form. What are the structural or legal risks to investor confidence?
If I were in the presidency, I wouldn't even go that road to be explaining that PIA. Yes, we all know that, but that's not what I would say. I would just go and say, look, this is our policy. We believe in the policy. We believe it's best for Nigerians. And I still believe it's the best thing for Nigerians in the long term. Like I said, because of the economic opportunities that it creates. So in terms of the legal risk and whatever it is, we will also look at it from the investor perspective that you said. So the outlook for investment today in Nigeria is better than it was 3 years ago. Just talk to any investor, whether he's domestic or international investor. The outlook is better. Then we must understand why. Why is the outlook better? For two major reasons, for two major plank of reforms undertaken by the government, which is the removal of fuel subsidy, which created a level playing field and opportunities in the oil and gas sector. Then the second one is the liberalization of the Naira exchange rate, because also it means that the Naira can go up, the Naira can go down, and it enables the private investors to plan ahead. All the government needs to do and focus on is ensure macroeconomic stability. And when we talk of macroeconomic stability, we're talking about two metrics, mainly two metrics: inflation numbers and, of course, the exchange rate. When I mean focus, they are the things there are things that they have to do to ensure that those conditions will continue to improve those conditions. And investors understand that. So once those two elements are in place, investors now look at their home private metrics and say, okay, on the basis of this is what we can plan in 2, 3 years, 5 years' time. When a government, or if a government now says, look, we're going to return to the era of fuel subsidy, or we're going to return to the era of a managed and fixed exchange rate, I can assure you what that would do is that before election, domestic and international investors would just say, okay, let's wait and see. Wait and see means that who wins the election. Of course, if this president is returned, then they know, okay, we are not going back to that era. But if a new president comes in, a new president that have said that this is what they would do, then of course it's a huge risk. It's a risky, whether in the short term or even in the medium term.
I was going to ask that.
Because you want to really take us back to where we don't want to go. The issue is, as the conversation here is, how do we manage the current conditions better? How do we improve the life of Nigerians?
Especially because, as far as some people are concerned, even though fuel subsidy has been removed, there have been gains. Joke just read out the numbers towards 15.8 trillion naira. Yeah. Accountability is an issue that the opposition is asking questions about.
I don't necessarily say accountability is an issue, and I will tell you what I mean by that, because
they are asking questions around transparency. That's what I mean.
Well, there will always be issue of transparency, but there's also been cost. Wage increases, and some of these costs also came from exchange rate changes. Then, of course, the cost of government debt also went up because of exchange rate changes. So that's why I call it a complex mix of things that happened after those reforms were. So we can't just say, because the moment you use the word, that's why I don't use the word corruption, I don't use the word leakages, and I don't use anymore. I used to use them. I now call it indiscipline, because that process is not tight enough. Okay. Yeah. If that process is tight enough, and there's a discipline process, right? Sorry, let me just quickly say this, because I think this is probably, when we talk about economic entities, we talk about the household, we talk about the business, and we talk about the government. It is the same budget constraint. A family comes together and say, okay, this is our income for the year. What do we spend it on, right? And I believe we are all parents. When you decide on Monday that this is what we are spending it on, then we have to, does the dad or the mom just go out the next day and buy a new car or buy a new wardrobe? Do you get my point? So it doesn't happen. If that does not happen, because if it doesn't happen, it's because if it happens, it's indiscipline. So in terms of government as well, how do we ensure at every level of government that we have some kind of discipline process, both in terms of the conceptualization, both in terms of the deliberation, and of course, both in terms of the expenditure of the money that comes into government, and even in the accumulation of debt. When we have some discipline, I bet you we will see some of this improvement, and we will see that the resources that belongs to everyone, that there's an element that you can say, okay, this is because the government did this, this came to me, this came to me. Okay. But when we don't have that discipline process, then everything looks very, very chaotic. Okay. And I think that's what, and for investors, that is also what they don't like. Okay. But at least they can undo the removal of subsidy, the exchange rate. They are waiting for the other bit, which is the progress we need to make. Okay. But not to return to the darkness.
Well, Mr. Sele, lastly, Dr. Kitty has spoken about transparency. There are questions around transparency concerning the savings from the subsidy, if any. What are your thoughts on that? What would you recommend that government does? You have spoken about the need for them to communicate, fine. But in terms of transparency, the questions still linger.
Well, it still boils down to, we have by law, we have all the laws. I think in some of the programs I've always emphasized that when it comes to documentation, when it comes to things on paper, we are a first world country. But actually, when it comes to implementation and execution, that is where we actually come into, you can say we are a third world country. So everything that we have in our laws to take care of whatever it is that we're going to do. It's our inability to respect the law. Okiti was talking about indiscipline. Yes, that's part of the problem, but the fact is that why are you not disciplined? It has to come from value. And I keep emphasizing that. Why are you not disciplined? It comes from your value. Why are you not disciplined? It comes from your environment. So what do I expect government to do going forward? Is to also design an omnibus plan where the federal government and the state government and the local government now comes together and say, okay, what is the major problem facing the average Nigerian? Now we've all agreed that it's tough out there. And then you now look at it. If you ask me from my own, even from personal interaction, the key here is transportation and rent. Okay. But especially transportation. For people living in a particular area, 70% or more of their salary goes for transportation. So if you want to subsidize, I think we can look at that area of transportation and find ways of subsidizing that. So if that is taken care of, it also serves as a buffer for people to look forward and know that, okay, yes, things will be tough. Things are going to be hard.
What's also interesting, my apologies,
in the long run,
Mr.
it's what is
Sele.
best for the country.
Yeah,
Thank you.
What's also interesting is that, on the one hand, it is one thing for government to say, or any government to say, okay, this is the intervention we're bringing. On the other hand, it's another thing entirely for that intervention to get to the people. We have seen that during COVID. The palliatives and the rest of them, yes. They don't, get to where they're supposed to go to. At the end of the day, we blame government because you give them the job. So I hope they also get that point. Thank you for your time this morning. Peter Sele is former president of Trade Union Congress. We appreciate your time and your thoughts, as well as Dr. Oho Okiti, who is convener Africa Business Convention. He's also CEO Think Business Africa Limited. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me this morning.
Yes, all the people that have been speaking this morning on this program are fathers. Mm-hmm. Yes, we are talking about fatherhood next, particularly broken fatherhood on Lifestyle when we return.
Welcome back to the program. As I rightly declared, as we're going on the break, we want to fix things that are broken. Well, we want to attempt to, not us, but
no.
We want to attempt
I'm innocent of all charges.
To help you fix things that are broken. But it really is not a conversation to be laughed at, because it's a lot packed into such things. Some people you're not parents, you're worried, you become parents, then you start worrying for like 18 to 25 years about, then you worry, can I do this right? Can I not do it right? What are the burdens along the way? What are the challenges along the way? And then, it breaks people and you don't know until it hits you that I'm not sure I'm cut out for this. A lot of people, go through those emotions, and people look from the outside and they don't understand what people are going through. They only just judge you.
What makes a father to become broke? And what are the consequences of it?
Yeah.
How do you even know
that you are?
The father is broken. What's the impact of such on the family?
And are you willing to accept help?
Yeah, first of all, even agree that you need help.
Yeah, that you need help.
Then we cannot go there.
Yeah.
Anyway, there are so many issues to look at concerning this. This is not the first time we're talking about broken fatherhood. Spoken about it before, but and I'm sure it's not something we're gonna talk about it again and again from time to time from different angles. Interestingly, our guest this morning, we have spoken about this before, and he just reminded us that, look, guys, you want me to come? This thing we spoke about it last time, we barely scratched the surface. Okay, so come and scratch the surface further this morning. Kingsley Obomegbulem is a child and teens counselor. Is also a parenting coach. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much, Ayo. Please let me quickly appreciate you. I know you pretend to be humble, but don't worry. The last time we had this conversation, and you actually, this topic actually came from you, which is reclaiming broken fatherhood, And then immediately I left the studio, a movement was born.
Wow.
Yes. And I was sharing with him yesterday, we actually had, on the 27th of June, we had a father summit. And that summit actually brought close to 80 men.
Wow.
It was in Musan, and what we're doing that day was, we're looking at the impact of broken fatherhood. And everybody there, and I use the word everybody, had a fatherhood story that attests to this reality of broken fatherhood.
Fatherhood, them or their father?
You see, the story of every man begins with the father.
Yeah.
Of course, a woman as well.
Mm-hmm.
And each of these men, if they are to be honest enough, they will tell you they have a broken fatherhood story. But we've been able to successfully mask this brokenness in such a way that we seem okay, but we're not okay until we are confronted with the need to diagnose or kind of interrogate this brokenness and the trauma that has, emerged or has been lingering from that brokenness. I asked him a very simple question yesterday. There's a question every man who is serious and honest and willing to be vulnerable, when you ask him, it touches on their core. And what is that question? What is your family's darkest secret? What is that thing about your family that if the whole world gets to know, you bury your head in shame? Do you have one? How many do you have? And who enabled it, your father or your mother? Oftentimes. Often. I'm not saying it is always. Most of the time, it is when there's a misalignment between the father and his role as a father. And it is also his poor definition of what that role is. We've been socialized to accept that the role of a father is to provide. So he is fixated with provision. And he makes that his
ultimate goal.
So that becomes what they call your indicator, performance indicator.
What defines him as well?
I have provided. So there comes a problem, two major problems. One, when he is not able to provide, everything becomes dysfunctional because he is not able to provide, based on his definition of provision, which is material, isn't it? But he forgets that there are other things that he's meant to provide. He's meant to provide spiritual direction, whatever that means. He's meant to provide the intellectual environment for the home. He's meant to provide the emotional bank account for people to tap in and withdraw as far as that house is concerned. So constantly, his mood shapes the house. If he's happy, we're happy. If he's sad, we're sad. But he's not aware that when he's gloomy, automatically we become gloomy. If he's not able to manage his failure, his anger, and every other thing, it trickles down to us.
Right. Sorry to butt in. So, from your new birthing, I don't know how to call it. Your new movement that was birthed. You said everybody had a story of fatherhood
at that event.
At that event, yes. That possibly was not that palatable.
Oh yeah.
So without mentioning names, you know, because
what were some
when Ayo started, he said we barely scratched the surface. So let's move on to the next part of the surface that we want to scratch, so we can get deeper. What were some of the issues that people had to deal with?
Correct.
When you ask questions, what people their answers, or when you say they should make contributions.
What I'm going to do, without giving away anything, it's to not just concede, it's to declare without mincing words that for a long time, our fathers, even till date, we don't have a grasp of the emotional impact of what we do or choose not to do as fathers. And that causes a growth. So I'll just give you one. You have a father who rose from adversity. He was poor as a child. He was given birth to by poor parents. And so he managed to escape poverty. So he has the means. But in the course of escaping poverty, he became emotionally insensitive. So he has boys and girls, but he doesn't know how to connect with them emotionally. So they go to school, they come back. How was school? Fine. Did you understand what you were taught? Yes, sir. Have you eaten? Yes, sir. Okay. We're done. Is there anything they said you should buy? No, sir. Okay. The following day, the same process. Following day, like that. What do you think will be happening to that child? And then you meet that boy or that girl and say, please, when you get home, hug your daddy and tell us how you felt. You say,
That way too.
As simplistic, as basic as it is. No. Do you understand? So that is the most quote unquote insignificant, but as insignificant as it seems, see the way you're already feeling. Now,
how am I feeling?
I mean, when I'm telling you, a father is asking you, how was school?
Yeah.
If you as a girl, if you ask that question 5 times, by Friday, will you want to?
Somebody says, go and hug your dad.
You already know. You already know what the man is going to say. So you're like, okay, don't you have other things to say? And you want to talk. And then being a girl who is expressive, that is your boyfriend. You want to communicate. You want to express. You have things to say. You have a fashion sense. Who do you talk to about it? He's supposed to be that boyfriend. You have dreams. Who is unlocking them? Is that boyfriend. You have another potential boyfriend outside who is supposed to guide you so that that guy doesn't prey on you. Is that guy. You have a career choice. You have even female friends who is meant to guide you on how to relate with them. A guy. Then there is the sense of identity, which is that question of who are you? Who do you think you are? The answer to that question flows from your relationship with that guy. And the guy is not around. And there are times you need somebody to just tell you, I believe in you. I could see the things you're going through. But I think you're important. I think you're brilliant. You're a beautiful woman. Don't worry. It's going to be fine. That guy, he don't even know how far. These things are happening to you year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, year 6, year 7, year 8, year 9, year 16. You gain admission. And then one day, one eye you're marking, they just say, oh, hello, beautiful.
Hello, pretty.
Oh, come on. Are you my Eve? Because my name is Adam. And you just like...
Who be this one?
Your brain, first of all, just... if you were 4 feet, you just suddenly have an additional 2 feet. You just grow taller immediately. You say, wow, where are you coming from? I've never seen such a beautiful damsel. You start to melt. Because the guy who was supposed to acknowledge you, tell you those things, so you get used to hearing them and nobody flatters you.
Yeah.
And the next thing, you move and you start living in his house. On campus. Carry Bele. The rest is history. Who impregnated you? I'm going to kill you. Okay, calm down.
When you were supposed to.
You know the house. You haven't been around. It sounds simplistic, but that's what it is. That's what it is.
Okay. For the records.
Yes, sir.
Every time you are saying, is that guy, you are pointing in my direction. just for the records. Just for the records.
No verse.
Okay.
And I also thought to look at you when you pointed that.
So both of this conspiracy, we need to add. But you know, it's also a little interesting, right? That when we talk about fathers,
yes, sir.
We have also heard that fathers are generally, what's the word now, unemotive. And they were not born unemotive, is what you're saying. They became unemotive.
Yes.
What are the ways in which those things happen to those fathers? I think it'll be good to know. Then secondly, what are the signs that those things happen? Because as you said, some fathers have found a way to mask those things so that they don't even know that they are broken. And so can't reclaim something that you don't know is lost or so what are the ways in which those things happen? And what are the signs that they have been masked over time that the fathers need to unveil?
I think it flows naturally from the way we were socialized. Now, if you take it back, you find out that I don't know about my grandfather, but I know very well that my father wasn't as expressive as I am emotionally. Now, that has ended. I have broken that, whether genes or whatever it is.
The cycle.
I've ended it.
Yeah.
But look at what I had to do to end it. I had to be deliberate. I had to see that this thing is not working. This thing is making marriage tedious for me. I live in a house, I'm married, but we only discuss things. Rent, school fees, job money. Abi? That's the only thing we discuss. Have you noticed? We don't talk about ourselves because we don't have what it takes. We don't have the skill to discuss about ourselves. There's a lot to talk about. One day my wife said, Guy, we barely discuss ourselves. I said, what is it to talk about ourselves? Unknown to me, I don't have what it takes to hold that conversation. But the moment I said, wow, there's a lot to talk about. We have dreams. We have foibles. We have fears. We have things to do, to accomplish together. You know, the way issues affect us, there are things we can talk about. We have children. They have their peculiarities, their individualities. These are things that we can keep talking and talking and talking, and we'll be tired.
Okay, so do you? I know. Okay. You continue your thought, but do you know that from? I don't know if it's just movies. From what we see and what we hear, do you think this is an African or a Nigerian thing, or because if what we hear is true, people who live in the Western world, they actually do communicate about those things that, your wife seemingly opened your mind to. And, maybe relationships are easier.
It's not just an African thing, just that it's worse here.
Okay.
Yeah, But so I don't lose the train of thought.
Yeah, continue.
When you socialize a boy in such a way that while he was still forming, he was not told or encouraged to open up.
Open up, yeah.
When he becomes old, that's not when to start telling him to start talking. No, the guy, his formative years, he needed to do all of that. He needed to talk. There was a day my son had infections around his local government area. And he was almost coming to the living room to do exhibition. I said, dude, what are you? This place is the living room now. We're not having art exhibition here. But that's how much
freedom,
yes.
Yeah, he had, yeah.
I mean, the guy, he can hug you for Africa.
Yeah.
So I saw that, I have broken this thing finally. We can talk about these things. If he's talking to you about his growing, he go just see up. Some kids will never let you go there. It's the socialization. So that's how we were raised, Ayo. And then I asked this question. I wanted to ask you this question yesterday. It's still back to answering your question. Did your dad ever told you, or did you ever hear your dad complain that, I don't have money, my head, my head is banging, please. You people should get me, cover me. Did you ever meet your dad in that state before?
Or maybe between himself and his wife.
They were never vulnerable to us. We didn't know how weak they were. Some of them didn't look like human beings. They didn't act like humans. They were too stoic for us. So now, when I'm sick, the whole house go, no, I know well. I'm in the parlor, I don't cover myself. Hey, my head, I'm not a Superman. I'm not an Iron Man.
Someone once said that, you don't let children know if maybe you can't afford something.
Why?
You should, right?
Why?
Right.
You don't have money? I don't have money. Simple. You have money? There's money in the house. Let's spend. Why would you? They need to know that daddy can be broke. So that when they are broke, they know that it's not a problem. And then, mommy is the one that bought this thing. It is not me.
Yeah.
So that when you're married and your wife wants to support, collect the money and spend it. Don't start feeling, no. No, we don't collect money. No. But collect money from your wife.
You haven't still answered the veiling of those things from men who are broken and who have so veiled it that even they don't know that they are broken.
That is where, there's what they call trauma. Sorry, I'll look for the term. But we have these coping mechanisms that we use to mask our vulnerabilities. So rather than become vulnerable, you mask what you're going through, which is why men suffer a lot of medical condition, but they will never go for care because of that stoicism. So indicators of broken fatherhood usually exhibit itself or expresses itself from the emotional perspective. Yeah. Because the emotion is like the structure that carries the human. Do you get? If you're not emotionally healthy, everything is going to crash, no matter how much physically, how fit you are physically. So indicators of broken fatherhood is men who have broken fatherhood issues, they have a problem building relationships. They can't sustain relationship. Male, female, anybody. Some you can't even do business with them because they don't have a solid foundation of integrity. Because that should also flow from the father. Now, most guys who lack those things, they are compensating. Some are Christians, and so they are compensating with their relationship with God. But that's naturally what should flow from a relationship between you and your father.
Okay. Some excessive lifestyle habits also considerable.
Yeah, addictions.
Over smoking,
yes.
over this, over that.
Addictions, indulgence. Of course, now pornography is the biggest pandemic. And it is as a result of you have a father who hasn't connected with you as far as sexuality issues are concerned. I was talking to an audience one day, and they were like over 300 parents. And I asked, who has had the porn conversation with their son in this house? Less than 5 people. Yeah. So if your father has not discussed pornography with you and all the sexual related issues, how will you discuss it with your son? How will your son discuss it? It continues to carry over. So that is also an indicator. Thanks, Ayo, for raising that. Those are issues that a lack of father-son, father-daughter relationship. And make no mistake about it. The father and his role are indispensable. You can hire somebody to play the role of mother, and she will play it very well. But to date, the father's role, and I stand to be corrected, and I want anybody to take me up. I can hire a fantastic housemaid, and she might even do better than my wife. But to date, the absence of a father in the life of a child, male or female, continues to trigger and spill into generations.
So we're running out of time, and this is
As
another
always.
part two, as always. So for a father watching now, because you said that conversation you had, some fathers were bawling,
were
crying, after the event. What are the things that a broken father, who may or may not know that he's broken now, begin to do? Some kind of self-reflection. What questions should the fellow be asking himself to begin to go?
Am I allowed to clap for a profound question? First thing, if you're watching this show, the first thing is to do what I call personal fatherhood audit. Ask yourself, have I been a fantastic dad based on these parameters? 1, have I been emotionally available? Have I been physically available? Of course, presence. Have I been spiritually available? Do my children look forward indeed to my coming home?
Or do they scamper when I show?
Or it's just there? You see, if you are that father that your children are at the gate, Daddy, when are you coming back? Oga, you try. It's not because of provision. There's something in these kids that want to relate. That is where we feel the most. And so some men will tell you, I not go kill myself. Oga, you will kill yourself. You have to kill yourself. Because see, that money that you are looking for, at the end of the day, it does not amount to much if there is no emotional relationship
with the children.
Yes. And how do you do that? So ask your children, is there anything you want daddy to do that daddy is not doing now? Very simple. What are those things you look forward to doing with daddy? As simple as this question is, Oga, it can open you up into another level of fathering. What am I doing currently that you want me to do less of?
Or stop.
Do you appreciate, do you envy my relationship with mommy? They will tell you. I know you're always shouting. That last time I saw you and mommy, and you think we're not seeing you. We saw you. And they'll tell you.
Okay. Well, with these few words of yours,
I hope I've been able to confuse you.
I want to thank you very much again. I'm pretty sure that we're going to talk about this again, as always, because
and then we'll look at healing from for those who are having currently under that weight, broken fatherhood.
Yes.
How do we heal, and how do we ensure that we start to rebuild?
That is a series.
And then the addendum to the series that renting a mother. We'll do that.
Well, that one will be after the program. Thank you so much for your time this morning. Kingsley Obom-Egbulem is a child and teens counselor. He's also a parenting coach.
Yes.
I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Ayo.
You know, I said something the other time that it's not a funny business, this Artist of the Week thing. But it is the business of fun. You'll find out about that when we return from this break. Just stay with us.
I want you to be my mentor, sir. Did I tell you other people I've mentored? No, sir. No. I don't like to say it, but do you know Mr. Alibaba? Yes, sir, very well, sir. I mentored him. Wow. I mentored him, but people don't know. Yeah, I was the one I saw. I know he's celebrating 30 years on stage, yes, but he has seen me. Wow. You know Reverend Samadeyemi? Yes, sir. Don't tell me that you mentored Reverend Samadeyemi. I mentored him, and then he started mentoring me, and now we're co-mentoring each other now. Wow. That's how simple I am. I don't say this. I've never said this to anybody. Yeah, that's right. But because I want to show you the way. Hold on for me. Hold on. Okay? No. Now, this is... Bath, sir. Now, hold it. Okay, sir. And now, there's a detergent in it. Yes, sir. What color is this? Blue, sir. What color is this? It's light gray. Hold on, I'm coming. Now, what you're going to do now, you're going to wash this clothes. So, let me put this inside. Hold it very well. Sir, I'm a comedian. I know. I'm a comedian. So this is water. You can hang in this place. Please, I beg you. This is white. Separate the white. Wash the white first, or you can soak the white and then wash all that cloth. If you can do it in 1 hour, 2 hours. No, it's no problem. Okay. I'm a comedian. No, it's okay. It's okay. Just use the tap. It's running 247. Okay? I'll be back when you're done. Let me know. All right? I see you sewing. Relax. Well, we are really tried. So what you've hung all of them? Which water is this one? What I used to rinse. This water is still.
Yes, the Artist of the Week. Who's the Artist of the Week this morning?
He's a senior advocate of...
Senior advocate. Senior advocate.
Is there someone talking?
I want you radio set sometimes. Radio will be sounding.
Senior advocate of
Nigeria? Of law?
No, not quite.
Of engineering?
Don't let the lawyers come for us. Senior advocate of comedy. Or
Sako. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much. Such a great honor to be here today, this morning, after a long time.
Happy New Year, sir.
Same to you, sir.
Let's start from somewhere.
How have you been?
Awesome. It's been amazing.
There was something must laugh.
Halifax must laugh. We had Halifax must laugh. We had Bolton must laugh. We had Waterloo must laugh in Canada.
So, but we haven't had Lagos must laugh.
Lagos, obviously. Very soon we'll have Lagos must laugh. But somebody's already using Lagos must laugh, so probably we'll look for another name to say something must laugh. Ikeja must laugh. Channel TV must laugh.
Okay.
Well, Channel TV will laugh on December 26th.
Oh, beautiful.
DSS.
Oh, beautiful.
I hope you will be here to laugh them.
Yes, we'll laugh.
You are keeping track of your invitations.
You know you are not speaking loud. Speak soft.
That's conversation for me.
Anyway, thank you so much again for being here, Sako.
Thank you, sir.
How's it been? It's been a while.
It's been a while because I've been in and out of the country. I've been events, and it's been a great year.
Yes,
yeah, it's been a great year.
In Halifax,
Waterloo, in New York.
In New York,
it's been good.
Yes. Very, very easy. Yes. Very proud.
It's been a journey. So I'm grateful to God for how far He's brought us.
Okay, how does all of that sound, looking back to when you started?
Yeah, I'm excited. It's the power of consistency and the power of mentorship that has changed, that made me see bigger than where I ever imagined. So every time I'm in that place where I hope for, I'm grateful to God. And I share it with my family and also share it with my proteges to say, I'm here today, you're going to be here, and going to be a bigger space than I've ever imagined. Because for me, I met you through mentorship while I was working with my mentor. And when he was on that stage, I would imagine myself on that stage. And today I am on that stage and I'm even done beyond that stage I ever imagined.
So the business of comedy in Nigeria, I know we've talked about this before, but I'm speaking first for the benefit of those who are probably seeing you on set for the first time, and second, for upcoming comedians in your space who are wondering how these people are so high there. You know, today, where you were is where they are.
Yes, sir.
So tell us about what it was back then compared to now.
Yeah.
Particularly, I'm talking about the industry.
Yes.
Because for some people, your own zenith now is their own ground zero.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Just the way somebody's watching me right now and say, one day I'm going to emerge, that's the same thing that's going to happen. I've always, when I see artists, comedians on stage or being interviewed, I say, oh, one day. It never even came to mind that one day I will be there. But when you continuously give value, someone sees what you carry and even sees beyond what you carry. They say, you know, this person is supposed to be in this place. Some people, I'm in a room today, I've gotten to rooms where people believed in me. Just like you also believed in me and saw that I could do it, and they recommend me. So the person watching right now, the power of consistency is important. The power of consistently delivering value is important. One of the rules that I give is the 10,000-hour rules. Malcolm Gladwell says that for you to become a professional in anything you're doing, you should have done over 10,000 hours. So when you think you're doing things for free, you think you are being used. You don't know that you're building capacity for where you're going to. So my encouragement to you right now is just a matter of time. Don't envy people's journey. Everybody's journey is different. What you see today is a combination of when you're building a high-rise building. It comes with cement, it comes with sand, water. So I've been there. So the combination of that to get a good structure. There've been a lot of crooked ways, but God has helped us.
Yeah. So we have quite a number of comedians.
Yes.
In Nigeria. And when you were starting out, and even as where you are now, do you ever think that, wow, like the space is so choked up, like how am I going to pull through to the next point and to the next stage, especially when you were starting out? Would you have any kind of fear that am I going to actually succeed enough in this?
Yeah, I had fears. I had fears, but I was overwhelmed with comedy. I was overwhelmed with, I just want to get into this space. So I get crashed to a lot of events.
Right.
So I'm not even being invited. I see a church event opening and I go meet them. I said, I'm a comedian. I like to perform for 5 minutes. Sometimes they say no, sometimes they say yes. And then just 5 minutes, I get into the space, and the next time they're having a concert, they're inviting me to host the event. Oh, wow. So I did a lot of gate crashing event. And then I will see event and I'll say, I'm going to go meet the organizers. Sometimes, I got a lot of no's, but the fact that I kept on showing up. And then I used my church where I serve in the choir as a platform. Right. For me, I was a member of choir, and then when it's time, during rehearsals, I'm that guy that always disturb. I'm always that hyperactive. I'm always trying to get punchline from every mistake our choir coordinator. Sometimes I used to be a member of the mass choir in Redeem. So I remember particularly Ajayi telling me to stand up during the mass choir rehearsals, at the Butimeta, and then I was that guy, So when it's time for them to introduce the song, they say, Brasson, go and introduce the song. So I would just do a little, just make the church happy a little, and then at those times when I was doing it, it kept on, and then people just in the midst of the several rejection, you know that, yes, I believe it to host my wedding. The first wedding I hosted was 21 years ago. You know, I was in school then. Somebody believed an usher said I was going to be the one to host his wedding, and he paid me 5,000. He sent me, you know, days of sending recharge card.
Yeah.
Sent me 3,000 recharge card, and then I came to Lagos. I hosted his wedding, and then you know it continues. So sometimes you're being called for an event, and even it happens till date. You agree on a price, and before you know, the person says, "I'm sorry, we got somebody cheaper, also somebody better." You say it's not a problem. You know, you just have to know that every rejection doesn't mean that it's just a face. It's a face. Yeah,
there are very few of you who occupy the particular space of this question that I want to answer, that I want to ask now. Yes. That's diaspora.
Yes.
Benga Dinka does intranational, and then some also international,
yes,
and a few others. But you have been playing in that space. You've Boston, you've Halifax,
France,
Waterloo,
Waterloo, and all those things.
Yes.
What's the difference if we can even attempt to make a comparison between comedy in Nigeria and comedy all over the place?
So I'm involved not to being only a comedian, I'm involved to being a master of ceremonies. So in my early stage, when I started professionally in 2005, I started as a comedian. But as I went to school, I realized that I needed to, yes. So I moved to being not only comedian. I call myself the compare with a sense of humor. To say, because some comedians are so in the light. Some people feel so scared when they see comedians, because they feel that comedians will just make jests and say things they're not supposed to say. So I just toned it down to say, I'm not just a comedian, I'm compared with a sense of humor. So when I do comedy, I've done comedy in London, in Portugal, in France, in Canada several times, in America several times. It's a part of comparison. You know, when my first trip outside Nigeria was Ghana in 2010, and then what I did was compare how they lived in Ghana and how we lived in Nigeria. So when I want to mention the Lekki of this world, I look for the words, the eyebrow area in Ghana, so I compare. So the power of comparison has helped me when I go to those countries. But I can say for a fact that I love Nigeria, because when you come back, you see, and just the way comedy gives you feedback, you get your feedback immediately. You also get your feedback also in Canada. I had challenging time cracking jokes in Canada, because especially when you see white audience, you have to be very intelligent to know the kind of comedy that you say. You can't use the word FAT, you can't use the word, you have to be careful of the words that you use around them. You know, you can get away with some things in Nigeria, but I began to get more education about how to communicate and how to bring humor in those countries. I think that's been the helping factor. When I get feedback from white guys, said, "You made me laugh," and I said, "Woo." So I began to get feedback from what my senior colleagues used to enjoy. But I was just very intentional about how I wanted to penetrate into the international market, because
which country was the most challenging for you? Because definitely the culture in Portugal is different from that in France.
Yeah. Okay. So the one in Portugal was a Nigerian. A Nigerian took a lot of persons from Nigeria, you know, to go host our 50th birthday. Okay. So I was the MC for the 3 days.
That was
it was a Nigerian show. But the one that was the one I had in Turkey, in a city called Bodrum. It was Ghanaian. It was 100% Ghanaian. The only Nigerian there was half Ghana and half Nigerian. So it was a lot of. But somebody that I hosted a birthday here recommended me for the event, and you can imagine in Nigeria here. And then I got there and I began to. A day before we went for the boat cruise, I was observing, and then the next day
and piling up. And so
what I did was I had cash, I had dollars, and I said, you know what? Before I begin to crack joke, I need to penetrate into these people. So I started a game. And as soon as the first person started the game, whoosh, and I gave the person $50, whoosh, he gave access, you know, and it was a Christian event, and that's kind of event that I love. I mean, I do corporate, I do secular event, but you see, I started in Christian, I started gospel comedy, you know, started hosting events in church. So as soon as I started that, and I mimic, so I have a way of mimicking Bishop Oyedepo. So I did a joke about, you know, my experience with my daughter, and then as soon as I did that, I saw that a lot of people love Bishop Oyedepo. And first, I stood on that on that.
Let's have that for a bit.
We don't do that. God spoke to me 5th of May 1989. Leave Kaduna, we're not here now. Our nation's not coming to. No foul demon from the pit of hell can come close. I don't. Okay, we have built 100,000 capacity without no stress. So I do that. I love times. It starts sounding. That's how they see. So when you get the feedback, I just emphasize more.
So let me imagine interview Shogo for a little while.
Don't do that. That's not part of the script.
I understand that you are a spiritual father to Pastor Sam. How did that influence? How did your leadership influence him?
Praise God.
Hallelujah.
Praise God. My son, Reverend Sam Adeyemi, is a child that I'm so proud of. When I met him in 1995, God spoke to me expressly like a man speaking to his man. And I've seen him evolve 30 years in the ministry, and he's doing well. We don't beg in this commission. He has never raised the seed for anything. We don't do that in that. We stand on a mandate that God is blessed. So I stop here. I stop here.
I hope Pastor Him, I hope you're watching.
Have you ever you've done it in front of him before?
So guess what? Every time I'm close to him, I was with, I co-hosted with my friend Damola. Pastor Emi Davis was 50%. I've never been able to do it in front of him. Every time I'm in front of him, I've seen him, I've introduced him at Pastor Tokwe Alabi's 50th birthday. I saw him one-on-one, and I could not. I don't know why. I could not. I just freeze. I just introduce him casually. But when he leaves, I just start listening. I say, what is this?
It's the spirit holding you and binding you.
I've never been able to do it. Pastor Emi loves me when I do it, but I was not. The last time I saw him in March, I couldn't. He was laughing at the other jokes that Mana and I did, but I just couldn't. As soon as he left like that, I just entered the mood. I said, this man has something, but one day he would be a mistake.
So what are we expecting? Because I know that you are in and out of the country, as you said.
Yes. But I live in Nigeria, so I need to emphasize. I'm in and out of the country, but I live in Nigeria. I work more.
No, you're a businessman.
Yes,
we know plenty of you. You are in and out of Nigeria.
But I came into the country 2 days ago because of I'm working with my protege Damola. He's having his comedy concert next week Sunday, and it's been something that he shared with me years ago that he was going to do after he had the first one in 2024 at the Terra Culture, and this time he's having another comedy show live for the first time. For the second time, but this one is in a bigger space at the hotel.
Interesting.
Yes.
When is this?
On the 30th of August. 30th of August by 6 p.m.
Okay.
Nigerian time.
Okay. You and a few others like you, I think Damala also included.
Yes.
You guys decided that it's just going to be clean comedy all the time.
Yes.
Is that, does it make it more challenging for you, or it's because it's easier to go any other route?
Clean is clean. You want to take water, it's clean water. You clean. There's nothing you can't take away. You can say your clothes is clean. So when other comedians, that's their style. Everybody has their style. But what has worked for us in the past years that I've been able to anchor senior pastors, he's hosted, he does a lot of Bishop Oyedepo's event, senior pastors, because they are comfortable with the kind of comedy that he does. Yeah. The likes of Pastor Paul Adefarasi will call him and say, I'm okay. Corporate events, we'll call him. So it's worked for us.
That's Damola.
That's Damola. Damola is worked for him severally. He was in London on Sunday, and by Monday was back because he had events back to back. So he's seen me do it. I've seen my mentors, the likes of Oli Malam, likes of Alibaba, do it, and we've thrived in it. We've made money. We've married by the grace of God. We have children from doing clean comedy, and family-friendly comedy is the kind of comedy that we do, and it's something that we're not disturbed at all about it, because clean is clean. You do no matter how much the comedians say, oh, I like that guy. The truth is, when you want to call for corporate event, they say, I'm comfortable with that guy because he's not going to insult my boss, he's not going to insult any white audience. Yeah, they look out for in the midst of the thousands of comedians on stage.
Which of your children is likely to be a comedian?
My son, David.
He has started?
He started. He has a sense of humor. So I had an experience. So I drove from Canada to Maine in the U.S. I had a birthday that I was hosting. So we drove for about 7 hours, and he traveled with me, and he was so excited. One of the things Uncle Kingsley spoke about the role of fathers, that when you're coming back home and I didn't have such great experience with my dad. I grew up in a polygamous home. And then the experience that I had in polygamy got me so scared that even when I failed JAM, I couldn't write polygamy because I thought it was a polygamous institution. Anything poly, and
are you kidding me right now? Like, really?
Anything poly, I can't play Monopoly till date.
Why?
Because of the experience of polygamy. I mean, it was
and there is a multiple player.
I'm the first
game.
one of 9 children. So I didn't have that experience with my father. I only saw pictures of my father and I when we were young. So driving 7 hours with my son was one of these things. So the next week I was going to go to New York. I said, Daddy, I'm going to go with you. And he kept saying, Daddy, so this is what you enjoy when you travel. They put you in the best hotel. They even spray you money because they sprayed him money. And he was dancing. And the experience for me was out of this world. Sometimes I get emotional around my children. But in the midst of it, the joy of my son saying he wants to become a comedian. He's a footballer. He loves football, but he has a great sense of humor. He has my charisma. He does some things like me, and I say, just enjoy yourself. You can do it all.
Yeah.
So my daughter has a great sense of humor. Also, she likes to mimic. She likes to draw. And then I've started mimic. Yes. So my son can mimic. My daughter can mimic.
Both of them are on the right path.
So everyone, my son especially.
Yeah. What you don't know, Joke,
is what.
Is that the wife has a tremendous sense of humor.
Yes, she does. She does.
It's the family affair.
Abi? It's the family affair. Because they're seeing results. When you see results of how, what we do, and they see that, that is me. And I let them know, this is what I do. This is what I do. Yes.
We have to thank you very much for your time this morning. Sacco is a popular, you said, for those who need to laugh,
yes,
who need the healing,
yes,
of laughter. You talked about
Damola's concert, live in concert on the 30th of August.
Okay,
yes.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you so much, sir.
Nigerian stand-up comedian, professional master of ceremonies, actor, event consultant. Yes, actor part. We'll talk about it some other time.
MC with a sense of humor.
Yes.
Is it compared with?
Yeah, compared with
the sense of humor. etc.
Yes.
Thank you so much again.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you greatly, sir.
Right.
Thank you.
And do you have a sense of humor?
Joke and Aya with a sense of humor. Make you laugh. Yeah.
My name is Ayo Makine. My name is Ayo Makine. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Joke Roger. See you next time.
Finish your tea.